Now, the brother of British doctor who died whilst in custody in Syria paid tribute to him at his funeral yesterday. Last week, the Syrian government announced that Dr. Abbas Khan committed suicide just days before he was to be freed. Sadia Chowdhury has been following the developments with this story. Do be aware that the following report does contain graphic imagery.
He had travelled to Syria to help treat the wounded victims of the civil war. But within days, Dr. Abbas Khan, who was an orthopaedic surgeon from South London, was arrested and imprisoned. 13 months later, his release date was finally set, but just days ahead of it, Dr. Abbas Khan is alleged to have killed himself, a claim his family strongly deny.
I think it's a testament to the driving force that took him out to Syria, those morals, those principles, the sense of humanity. And I think the people that tried to kill him, or did kill him, thought they would silence that. And that overwhelming sense of humanity and giving everything for a just cause has shone through and resonated throughout the whole of the country with people of all faiths and walks of life. And we're honoured that my brother's memory has that sort of impact.
A funeral service for Dr. Khan was held at London's Regent's Park Mosque yesterday, and an inquest into his death began today. Human rights groups say the British government should denounce the death and ensure that those responsible are brought to justice. Between 3,300 and 11,000 fighters from more than 70 nations have joined the struggle in Syria against President Bashar al-Assad. In 2011, his security forces repressed peaceful protests against more than 40 years of the Assad family rule. An armed revolt ensued, and a country in which people from all faiths coexisted has now become divided along sectarian lines. Well over 100,000 people have been killed and some 3 million people forced to leave their homes. Mahmoud is one of the young fighters we met during our visit to Syria earlier this month. He lies paralysed, waist down, in a hospital bed. Mahmoud is just 16 years old. Who are you fighting against?
Bashar al-Assad.
Why did you want to fight Bashar al-Assad?
ليش أنت كنت عم تقاتل بشار الأسد؟ لأنه ضد الشعب عم بقصف وراد دمر كل سوريا.
Many children have taken up arms in this war to defend their families and their homes, but it's making little difference. Bashar al-Assad pounds his country with airstrikes, simply no match for his young opponents on the streets below.
Sadia's full report on the Syrian conflict. Static War follows this programme, so do keep a watch. We saw some graphic images there from the Syrian conflict. Sadia mentioned in that report 3,000 fighters or more have travelled to Syria. This week, we heard news from our own Home Secretary regarding fighters going abroad, citizenship being revoked. I know your site's been covering these issues and has put up various articles. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Well, it's a bit of a hypocritical stance taken by our Home Secretary. Reason being is that would she apply the same if it was perhaps Brits leaving to join the IDF in Israel? Ultimately, these are Muslims, young Muslim men who are going to Syria to protect people who can't protect themselves, people who are being bombarded by Assad's forces. For their British citizens, for their citizenship to be revoked, to go and do an honourable duty of protecting the people who can't protect themselves is very sad. Now,
on the side of the government, they'll say that these individuals are going there with rebel forces to join a war as terrorists going abroad. No? Yeah, well,
it's funny how they pick and choose when they want to label someone as terrorist. Earlier on in the conflict, this wasn't a big issue. It's becoming a big issue now. Theresa May or the British government wasn't making a big issue of it earlier on in the conflict.
Would this not be to discourage young British men to go abroad to join a battle which is far away from their own home?
The thing is, being a Muslim, it goes beyond just national borders, you know. We're one ummah, so the men who are going from Britain or anywhere around in Europe to go and help their brethren in Syria, it transcends national borders. So whilst they have a point in regards to, yes, these young men may come back to Britain as radicals and terrorists, and they might start causing attacks here. That's not necessarily the case. Majority of the men who are going out there, they're either staying there or they're dying
well,
there.
We've seen a lot of attention on the surgeon, Dr. Abbas Khan, and our condolences are with the family. Also alongside, I think on the same week that he died, there was another individual who passed away, Iftikhar, I believe his name was.
Gajaman,
And your site published a number of things regarding that case also. 2 young British men who had lost their lives. To us Brits here, sad, difficult to see, but young men who had gone abroad for different reasons maybe, but to help the Syrian conflict. You didn't want to, on your site, it didn't create much of a difference, but to many others there would be.
Of course, on one hand, Iftikhar Jaman was perceived by the mainstream media as an Al-Qaeda affiliated jihadi, and obviously Dr. Abbas Khan went there on a humanitarian cause, but we're Muslims, so we don't cast doubt on any of our brothers, and they both went for noble causes, and they both went to help the oppressed. And we will not take the mainstream Western stance that one was a jihadi and one was a doctor. They both were very brave men, and what they did was very brave, and they went to help the Syrian people who are being bombarded and shelled by Assad forces. So I will not differentiate between them two, and our site sent condolences to both parties.
Okay, now lots of different stories have been trending throughout the week. Let's have a quick look at some of the things you've been tweeting about.
Trending on Twitter this week, the Egyptian declaration of the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organisation, with @Ala Bayoumi saying the leaders at the helm of the coup seem to be out of control. @Sarah Lee One adding a question in as to whether this was the roadmap the US were hoping for. Syria has also been a topic of conversation this week, with aerial assaults continuing in Aleppo. @NYC Jim tweeted that barrel bombs are bringing terror to the Syrian people, even without chemical weapons, with @Lion Al Somal 29 saying the attacks portray a disgusting world. With Christmas in the middle of the week, tweeters were divided on whether Muslims should or should not be celebrating. @Ohira tweeted Muslims shouldn't celebrate the day at all, while @Atiku argued that Muslims should join in with celebrations. With news that British citizens intending to fight in Syria are to have their citizenship revoked, Twitter has had mixed reactions. @Asid Beg wonders whether or not a non-Muslim could have their citizenship revoked as well, while @Dr. Marcus welcomes the idea.
Okay, so a few different things on Twitter there. The thing I did want to ask you about was your own Christmas message. Now, you put that out on Boxing Day. It was on national television. You don't celebrate Christmas. You don't think Muslims should celebrate Christmas. It's a festive day. It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a festive day, but not one for Muslims, you know. And Christmas Day specifically is about the birth of Jesus Christ. Also, we know that the Christians have a different concept of Isa alayhi salam. They have him in a different position as Muslims have. And we have our own festivals to celebrate and be content with. That is the 2 Eids or Ramadan. We have our holy months and holy days. And
Okay. Saying that, the Muslim Council of Britain put out some stuff. The Muslim Association of Britain put out some stuff. Lots of big umbrella bodies coming out and saying, you know what, Christmas isn't cancelled. Muslims are celebrating. Do you have a problem with that?
My question is, who wanted to cancel Christmas? No one wanted to ban Christmas, so I didn't feel the need why these big umbrella organisations had to feel the need to come out.
But do you think people feel that Muslims do have that perception and do possibly want to lay that line down, and that's why the umbrella bodies came out and did that?
I'm talking about Muslims on the ground.
Because you obviously didn't say that in
No, of course not. Muslims on the ground, laymen, your average taxi driver, your restaurant worker, your takeaway worker, they do not celebrate Christmas. You know, and you go to any...
They're all off from work, aren't they?
Yeah, of course, but they're not celebrating Christmas. There's no halal turkey or Christmas trees or crackers or anything. So what I'm trying to say is, it's all good and well that our so-called representative umbrella organisations to come out and say, you know, no one wants to ban Christmas. No one said we want to ban Christmas. We're just saying that we're Muslims, we live in Britain, tolerate our beliefs and we tolerate yours. That doesn't mean we have to somehow start celebrating Christmas as some form of cultural integration. That's not the case.
No, not at all?
No, not at all.
Okay.
However, if people do say to us Merry Christmas, it would be rude not to return their greetings, but we don't have to return their greetings by saying Merry Christmas. There's many responses we can say to them, which doesn't necessarily mean any acknowledgement of the
on
festival.
that line, a few different shuyukh came out to talk about this. Now, it's a current issue. It's an issue that many Muslim Brits face, many Muslims around the world face. We had Mufti Menk come out and say, you know, as to how you should respond. You had that on your site.
Yes.
Sheikh Yasir Qadi also came out and said, this is how you should respond. Clearly, a response is needed. Clearly, there is something within the Muslim community. People do want to know as to how they should deal with these sorts of situations. I know your response. I saw your video, and it was blanket. I don't celebrate Christmas, but for some Muslims, maybe they do.
As I said, I have an obligation to my Muslim brethren. So if I pass a Muslim who does actively celebrate Christmas, I have a duty to tell him or her the Islamic stance on celebrating a religious festival which isn't Islamic. What they do after that is between them and God. But I am of the opinion of Mufti Menk and Yasir Qadi that if people greet us with Merry Christmas, we shouldn't just blank them or say nothing. We should return a greeting, but a generic one. A one that's not specific to their Aqidah or something that's specific to Christianity.
Or the line of the Muslim Council of Britain that Christmas isn't cancelled for us Muslims. Now, unfortunately, that is all we've got time for this evening. I want to thank my guest, Muhammad Dilwar Hussain, for joining us, and of course you at home for watching. Remember to keep up with the Twitter conversation using #TheReport. We'll be following stories throughout the week, so do keep tweeting. To watch previous programmes, go onto our YouTube channel at /Islam Channel TV. But for now, we'll leave you with some scenes from the gusty winds taking charge throughout the southeast of England, with storms on their way back tonight. Do tune in next week to join us for your report. But until then, from all of us here, Assalamu alaikum.